So that was the view from Italy. You heard Darmesh say before there'd been a mixed response on social media to that apology from Lukaku, from the supporters. Let's hear from a Chelsea fan face to face now, because YouTuber and podcaster Matisse joins us here on Sky Sports News. Matisse, good to see you. Thanks very much indeed for your time. So he said sorry this evening. As far as you're concerned, is it apology accepted?
Hi, Julien. I mean, when we talk about Lukaku, we talk about the honesty, and the further you climb, the higher you'll fall. And I talk about that because, you know, the words that Lukaku has had over the last few interviews, whether it's the first interview with Chelsea and now the second interview now with Sky Italia, it's contradictions. And now the weight of those words have kind of been lost. So for me personally, some Chelsea fans, and a lot of Chelsea fans, of course, would have loved the apology. And I think that's a great start. But it's always about now going out onto that pitch and showing that you're still committed to the cause, you're still dedicated to the club, because that is what the club under Thomas Tuchel is almost founded on. And, you know, we are a team, you know, that's how we won the Champions League. Everybody pulling in the same direction. That was shown in the performance against Liverpool. And anybody that disturbs that ecosystem and that environment, it is detrimental to the overall team as a whole, and it makes us weaker. So it's very important now for Lukaku to come and play those games like he has been with the back-to-back man of the match performances in the last two games with the goals, and kick on and get those goals now and prove that he is still committed.
We've heard plenty of players over the years say comments that they maybe regretted and maybe apologise in a statement, but very rarely do we see a player sit in front of a camera and apologise down the lens to the supporters. How important do you think it was that Lukaku did that?
I think it was huge. You know, we speak about written statements and lost in translation and quotes and whatnot. It's very important that he speaks to the fans. You know, he spoke to the Inter Milan fans, and obviously it's kind of a double-edged sword trying to win back the Inter Milan's fans' love. You've kind of lost a little bit of Chelsea fans' love in that respect as well with those comments. So I think for him to come and speak, but it's very important. But again, like I said, the weight of his words have been lost a little bit. So you're still going to have to add that onto the fact of some performances for the club as well. I think when we talk about Lukaku, we definitely hail the honesty that he showed, you know, in the first interview for Chelsea, saying that he would like to finish his club career here, talking about how he's a multifaceted striker that can play with his back to goal, running the channels, finishing, pressing. But then obviously, like I said, with those contradictions in the Sky Italia interview, talking about, you know, the system maybe hampering him, having to adapt to that situation, and also, you know, potentially wanted to go back to Inter Milan and join Lautaro Martinez as well. So, like I said, it's great to have that interview and to speak to the fans, but those contradictions does bring down the weight of his words, and that's why performances are so crucial going forward. Because, you know, Chelsea are, you know, in all competitions so far, they are still looking to challenge on multiple fronts, and we're going to need someone that we've spent so much money on to deliver the goods and to deliver those goals.
So with that, what you've just said there, and maybe the mixed reaction from Chelsea fans, what reaction do you think he'll get from supporters inside the ground when he crosses that white line again, which might be as soon as tomorrow night?
Well, it's going to be very interesting. I mean, we speak about the game tomorrow night. We have Conte returning back to Chelsea as well for the first time since he was, you know, sacked or let go or whatever have you will. So there's a lot of facets to this game. There's a lot of very interesting things that are going to be occurring in terms of Lukaku, whether he starts, whether he, you know, comes off the bench. Obviously, he's coming up against his former manager at Inter Milan. We know they have a very close and great relationship. So I think for Lukaku, the first thing he has to do is obviously try and block out the noise. There will probably be a little bit of noise around his name when he comes onto that pitch. But again, goals always keep the fans happy. It is exactly what we bought him to do. It's what, you know, we backed him to do. He's got a great goal scoring record wherever he's been. It's nothing that he's shy of doing. So if he can, you know, put in the performances that he's put in the games prior, before this, you know, this big story coming out, the game against Aston Villa where he won the penalty, he also scored against Brighton. I was at the game. It was a great performance. He worked hard. He was diligent. He tracked back. If he shows that same commitment and he puts in those performances, those, you know, noises in the crowd will soon, you know, dial down, and we can move on and get back to what is most important, which is Chelsea, you know, being successful, at least from my point of view, of course.
Yeah. I mean, Lukaku said in that interview about his special relationship with the club. Of course, he's been at the club before, but we heard Kaveh Solokol in the transfer show say he now wonders whether he'll ever be able to go on, no matter what he does at the club and however long he stays, go on to be seen as a legend in the say mould as Drogba, for example. Do you go along with that?
very difficult. I mean, he's got a long way to go. You know, we're talking about, you know, one of Chelsea's greatest ever players, created huge memories for the club. You know, to reach those kind of heights are very difficult to do on a normal day when you're not having big interviews like this, let alone after one. So it's something that is going to be extremely difficult for him to achieve going forward, but it's not impossible, but it's very, very difficult. I think for me personally, you know, you start with the initial building blocks of just trying to appease and get the fans back on your side by doing what is important in the short term, which is getting goals until the end of the season. Then we go again and we see, again, it depends if we're looking at how truthful those comments were about wanting to return to Inter Milan before he gets to the end of his career. We don't know about, you know, whether he still wants to do that or not. Again, the weight of words is the point I go back to. How true was that? Do you want to still do that? If you are still thinking about making that move, then obviously we come to it in the summer. But I think right now that is a long way away for Lukaku. I think it's very important that he, in the short term, knuckles down, gets the goals for Chelsea so we can achieve certain things, and then we can kick on and go, you know, further forward from there.
Final question, Matisse, and it's about the manager rather than Lukaku. Thomas Tuchel took the decision to drop him for that huge game against Liverpool at the weekend, which raised a few eyebrows. His first real storm, I suppose, as manager at Chelsea. What have you made of the way Tuchel has handled the whole situation?
I don't have enough adjectives to give Tuchel, honestly. It's quite incredible the way he's handled the situation. I think, you know, as a manager, we look at him from a perspective of media dealings, etc. He's been brilliant so far since he joined the club. Of course, tactically, achievements-wise with the trophy, he's been incredible as well. When you look at the way he involved the leadership group around him, I thought that was an incredible decision, because it allowed him to say, listen, this is your club as well as it is mine at the moment as I'm here, and it's your decision how we move forward and set a precedent. How do you want your club to be looked at? How do you want us to make the rules around here in terms of actions and consequences for code of conduct? And I thought that was such an incredible, you know, smart decision to not be too authoritarian and not to make it about him and be personal about it, and to make it about the group. And it's worked in his favor. You saw the performance against Liverpool. Chelsea, you know, showed that comeback and that fight back that they needed after going 2 goals down, that togetherness. The crowd were focused on the performance, on the players on the pitch, and there wasn't those distractions with Lukaku on the bench. And we have to remember, this is a team that have won the Champions League before Lukaku came in. So that group should have those loyalties to Tuchel, as was shown. That group should know that they can perform and they can, you know, pull out a good result if need be. And it's up to now Lukaku to come back into that ecosystem and then obviously make a positive addition to it, as he has done so far this season. But I think Tuchel has been, you know, brilliant. I really do. Such a difficult situation to deal with. He has that experience from PSG dealing with, you know, personalities from there. And I think he used that experience in this instance as well. So this is the type of longevity we're looking for as Chelsea fans from a manager.
Matisse, really good to get your thoughts this evening. Thanks for your time.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Next, we'll turn our attention to news.